Alright, let's get this show on the road. I'm very eager to talk to all of you wonderful students today. Hi, it's me, Professor JJ, your instructor and lecturer for this semester's course on Introductory World Peace for Dummies. I don't actually think they're dummies, but it's kind of a thing, like a book series that existed way back in the day. I'm very pleased to see you, and I appreciate that you made it here on time, and I hope that you're all ready to focus, ready for a challenge, and perhaps took good notes at the last lecture. Because in fact I respect that you showed up on time so much that I went ahead and already wrote out the the topic for today, the subject, the chapter we are covering. That's pretty readable, isn't it? Here, let's see if I can make it more readable for you. Did that help or not? I don't think it really did. Alright. Here, I got another idea. And if you think that this is sloppy, that I haven't set this up in advance, well, looks like my audio's registering a little bit hot. I was gonna say, you don't know anything because I have been setting things up in advance for this recording. It's not sloppy. It's really just me trying to do my best for you. See, like the microphone, I already tried the options, all of them. This is the cardioid shape setting. If I were to do like the number 8 style one, which I'm not going to bother trying to remember what it's called, but it would sound more like this, which is not as good, I do not believe. You know what I mean? And then there's another set, like this one. This is the omnidirectional, not the cardioid. Pretty weak, right? And, or wait, is this more like the Venn diagram? Oh well, you know, it really doesn't, because yes, I am trying to do my... Actually, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me make sure. This is the cardioid. Ah. And this is the omnidirectional. Alright, so omnidirectional is what I'm going with, because that sounds awesome. And as far as making the whiteboard look better, I think I got this. I think I got this. Maybe I got this. I got this. You are the one to abuse. Not you, those are song lyrics. They are always stuck in my head when I say, I got this. See, that right there is going to be at the core of today's lecture. Alright, is what? What is at the core? That song? No. Well, if only I could get this to stay like that, right? Well, you know what? Here's the deal. You know, just listen. And you've probably got a pretty good machine that you're watching this on, probably better than my machine. So if you can pinch and zoom probably with your smart device, and you can probably scroll, you know, your mouse that has like the wheel, probably scroll that wheel and zoom in. So yeah, I will continue, and I apologize about that reflection. What are you gonna do, right? I mean, shit, man. I freaking broke my guitar yesterday, and now I got the miscellaneous pieces holding my board up. So the professor's doing his best, but I will try to use I will try to avoid using vulgar language for most of this lecture as much as I can, and will only use it to illustrate. I'll only use it when I have to, okay? Because vulgarity is basically distracting, okay, and off-putting. Now, with that said, what can I say? You're probably going to want to put this in your notes. So, what can I tell you about empathy? Because empathy and compassion are two separate things. Alright? Put this at the top of your notes with regards to empathy. Alright? Here it goes. With regards to empathy, you can't go assuming shit, motherfucker. I know. That's pretty intense, right? I'm sorry. I don't know how to cut through all of the programming that you've already been taught. I really have to do something. Otherwise, you're not going to absorb the information. Alright? But basically, you can't go assuming anything when it comes to empathy. Okay? Because humans are individuals. And individuals are different. They are singular. And the way things affect individuals is unique. Yes. Things are uniquely interpreted by unique individuals. You can't really feel empathy for a group of people because a group of people is a group of individuals. Now it is basically safe to assume that if a group of individuals is being oppressed, that is, if a group of individuals are actually having their freedom taken away by some fascist or whatever, some control freak, some powerful entity, let's say, is taking away freedoms from a group of people, therefore making them oppressed. Alright? So naturally, you bleeding heart motherfucker, you're thinking, oh, I have so much empathy for that group. But you're wrong. Because Instructor JJ has been through a lot of trauma and bad shit, and I've had to go to support groups and shit like that, and guess what? Trauma affects people differently. So even though you want your liberal heart to bleed for that poor group of people, you actually have to sit down and talk individually to know anything about how they feel. And you have to ask the right questions. What was that? What did I say? Did you take notes? This is the only other time I'm going to say it, okay? With regards to empathy, you can't assume shit, motherfucker. And that's it. I'll try to not curse so much, but I just can't convey how important that is. Now, I'm going to go ahead and illustrate and back up. You know, I'm gonna stand behind what I've just said about not assuming things by giving you some illustrated examples from my life. Because I like to think that I'm a particularly open individual. I wouldn't say I'm 100% transparent, but I'm pretty goddamn transparent if you know anything about me. So I can imagine, because I kind of have a highly developed empathy kind of like radar thingamabob, you know, because of all the bad crap and trauma I've had. And you know, I've kind of like had experience with regards to prejudice and like racism and even sexism. Like when you're a little kid and you don't talk very much, you get to listen a lot, and when you listen a lot, you get to hear all the crap that goes down. Sometimes it ain't pretty. Okay? Now, I'm sure that if you were, like, perhaps paying attention at the last lecture, you probably heard me talk about the senior, my father, you know, and some of you, I can imagine, probably think he's the devil, right? Like some kind of animal, like Charlie's Manson or something, like, because I'm not going to go into detail, but that one thing that he said about, you know, stay close, son, otherwise something bad might happen to you, right? I'll bet some of the members of our class probably thought, oh my God, what a horrible thing to say to a child. Oh my God, oh, that child must have been fearful of people like me, you know, for the rest of their life. Oh my God, that's basically like installing homophobia in a child. Now, you'd really have to talk to me to know how I actually was programmed. You know, it was basically programming. We all get programmed by the people that raise us, and if we don't, well, they're not really doing their job, are they? You know, whether you're getting good programming or bad programming, garbage in, garbage out, non-garbage in, non-garbage out, right? So you can assume that he turned me into a little homophobe, but the thing is, he made sure that I knew the difference between child molesters and killers and homosexuals. Ta-da! So you can't go assuming things, can you? Right? That's just one example. Like, I knew the difference. I didn't really know, like, the mechanics or anything. Give me a break. I'm like 5 years old. But when he said somebody was gonna go, and you know, like, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm so scared of... Listen, this is the way I thought of it. I thought of it as, okay, mommies and daddies, daddies and daddies, mommies and mommies. That's about as mechanical as I thought about it, and there was nothing weird about it. And this was back in the 80s, man. Alright? So, that's pretty open-minded if you ask me. Right? You can't go assuming things. You really have to talk to the individual to get to know their true feelings. And only then can you have empathy. Because how can you feel for someone, somebody? How can you feel for something? A lot of people, they don't know much about empathy because there's just not that much out there with regards to it, right? I mean, like, the only title I can really think of that ever made like a primary plot point that has to do with the topic of empathy is a little book called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. They made a movie out of it called Blade Runner. It's directed by Ridley Scott. It stars Harrison Ford and Sean Young and Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah and the guy that plays Leon that's in The Fifth Element and the chick that plays Zora. I don't think she's too famous, actually. I don't know what else she's been in. But, oh yeah, Detective, what's his name? Captain Bryant. I think he's been in a few things too. But look, okay, the book is a lot different than the movie. You really have to read the book, or at least listen to an audiobook, because it is like an in-depth treatment on empathy. Like, you kind of get the impression in the movie because of the so-called Voigt-Kampff empathy test, pupil dilation reaction machine that they use to tell apart humans and replicants. And by the way, if you're not familiar, a replicant is basically an android. It is a humanoid machine. That's all that they really, mean when they say replicant. Okay? Ooh. You'll have to excuse me. I'm wearing these because I'm trying to be quiet. There's somebody that has a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And I have to be quiet because I know how important health is for a human, and I don't want to screw up their appointment because I have empathy. And even though it's really annoying that I can't get loud, I'm very annoyed and peeved by that. My annoyance is outweighed by my compassion and empathy for their situation. Plus, like schedules, to get a new doctor's appointment, it might take weeks, the scheduling. So that right there is kind of why I'm wearing these silly things and tripping on my own cable. Hold on one sec. Professor JJ knows a trick or two for handling difficult situations, especially with regards to of a technical nature, if you will. All right then. So, what is it about this book I'm talking about that's so important? Well, okay. Like I'm saying, these replicants, they're basically called replicants because they are replications of humans. A replication is kind of like a facsimile or a duplicate. Okay? It's like trying to make a perfect copy, or kind of like maybe you might like the word simulation. It's a simulated human, automated mechanical. I think we all get the picture. Alright? Basically, it's not a human. So therefore, if it's going to look like a human, and if it's going to respond like a human, it has to be more human than human. The Tyrell Corporation's motto. Okay? And in the book, I'm not quite sure if they called it the Tyrell Corporation. I think it had a different name. But here's, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, then you might want to fast forward. Here, I'm going to write on the board talking about dads do androids dream. Oh yeah, dads. That's the dude, dads. So when I erase that, that means you can, start listening again. But this is nothing but spoiler, okay? Starting now. Alright, so in the book, it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic scenario, if you will. Alright, because it's post-war. Post-war time. A lot of post-apocalyptic fiction or science fiction pertains to, yeah, you guessed it, post-war time. It's like the aftermath of some tragic, terrible war crap, okay? And just people trying to survive in a world that has been ravaged by war, okay? So what is one of the side effects of this war? What made it so bad to make it go so far as to be comparable to a post-apocalyptic scenario? Well, there's like a toxic gas that's left over. It's not like radioactive. It's not like a Fallout or Mad Max kind of thing. No, it's not like a Hiroshima kind of like Nagasaki. No, look here. It's more like this cloudy gas that's in the lower atmosphere, basically ground level here on Earth, and it causes all kinds of deformities and defects in like the human genome You know, your DNA, the blueprints for what you are, who you are, how you grow when you die, what color your eyes are, etc. So yeah, this gas that's left around from the war, this horrible toxic gas that they made to win the war, it mutates people. I think one of the terms that they used to describe Mr. Isidore, who is, I guess, supposed to be like J.F. Sebastian, who's a pretty good actor as well, but Isidore, they call him a chicken head. So if you haven't read the book but you have seen the movie, I think we all know that J.F. Sebastian, home again, good evening, these are my friends, they're toys, I make them. Yes, he's kind of a little off, perhaps a little childlike. Well, he's a genius, mechanical engineer. So, not exactly. I don't think that's part of his deformity, really. Because, like, the thing is, he's kind of socially underdeveloped. Like, he says, if you listen, he says, these are my friends. Like as if he doesn't have friends. That would leave someone a little bit socially underdeveloped. And perhaps, gee, I don't know, a little childlike. So, no, that chicken head thing, that's not really what they convey in the movie. But you might think that if you're not perceptive and don't have empathy skills. If you don't have mad empathy skills, like your instructor JJ. Now, the thing is, he says later that he has Methuselah syndrome, I believe is how he terms it, I think. I don't have any notes. I haven't done any research. I haven't done my homework for this class. I'm just pulling this out my brain, so I guess, I think I'm right, though. I think he calls it Methuselah. I know I got Bodhisattva right in last lecture, so sometimes I'm not sure, but I'm probably right, because I only talk about stuff that I know really well, so usually. And if I don't know it very well, I tell you, I don't know this very well. But anyways, Methuselah syndrome is supposed to be an advanced aging, a premature aging scenario. Maybe like a Benjamin Button thing? No, that's more like you're born old and you die young. That's a really specific. No, this is more like a real problem that some humans on planet Earth right now are living with. It's like you age way too fast. Like there's like 9-year-olds that are already looking like they're ready for retirement and Social Security benefits and Medicare and all that crap. It's true. Those are some courageous kids to live with it, something like that. Anyhow, so the chicken head in the book is describing a simpleton. So, but he's basically like J.F. Sebastian. So a lot of this guy's experiences are kind of going to clue you into empathy. Basically, in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, they use a device called a mood organ. It is a device that people, the survivors, or perhaps the descendants of the survivors of this bad war. Okay, one of the heavy side effects of the gas and whatnot is it kills your empathy, or like it kills your mood, your ability to like have a normal human reaction to things and like control your mood. Like that's perhaps something that's taken for granted in today's society. You know, people are very rapid. They all have things to do. They all have schedules. And a lot of times it pertains to survival, like making your money, you know, making your livelihood and such. Perhaps you're spending time with your family, and perhaps that is in a limited supply. So you have to put that above everything, because otherwise you'll never see your damn family. Come on now. Like, you gotta understand, you know? So, like, what is the deal with the mood in the book? Well, the mood organ is a device. I think it's supposed to look kind of like a telephone, but like, I think you have to put your hand inside of it or something. I forget how you interface, but you definitely got to punch in a code. It's like a 3-digit code, and that prepares the machine. It loads up the mood that you selected. Pretty twisted, right? But that's what they're trying to do to stay human. Like, they don't want to lose their humanity. That would suck, right? Humans have some pretty... We got what we got, and we've been using what we got for thousands of years. So to go and lose anything would suck. If we ever gain anything, like maybe cybernetic body modifications, who knows, right? Well, hey, that'll probably be a good thing, because to add is, as long as you're not adding bad shit like problems, it's probably going to be awesome, but who knows what kind of problems might go along, what kind of side effects, etc. Okay? But yeah, they're trying to keep what they have. They're trying to keep their way of life. A way of life is an important thing to a lot of humans, and the thing about that is it's usually not important to anyone else. And you know why that is? Because usually no one else knows anything about their way of life, the other person's, so therefore to hear that their way of life was totally wiped out basically means nothing to anyone, because it's like, what way of life? Why don't they just live like I do? Problem solved. Because I live so well. You know, no one's trying to say that anyone lives badly. I'm not going to criticize anybody's way of life, man. That's a total dick move. Obviously, if someone has developed a way of life, it's obviously been developed to make it through life, because everybody has different struggles and different privileges and different opportunities, etc., etc. Different families, different environments, different everything. So if you have a developed way of life, it's obvious that you need it, because otherwise, why would you have it, right? Sometimes it's not that cut and dry. You know, sometimes a traditional way of life totally sucks. It's not a good thing to have, because like, the world is developing. Meanwhile, certain folks are living in the past. This is not fun for the children, for the offsprings. You know, when grandpa is stuck in his old ways and grandson or daughter has to, you know, live up to, you know, grandpa's example, or what grandpa thinks is the perfect way of life, when in reality, when the kids go to school, they're in a totally different world than what grandpa knows. Grandpa remembers school, sure, but it was completely fucking different. Just like this grandpa knows that the school the kids go to now is completely different than, you know, the little bit of, before I dropped out, anyway, at any rate. Now look, back to the mood organ, that twisted little device. Yeah, it's science fiction, so it's supposed to present you. A lot of science fiction tries to present humans with a scenario of what the future might be like if we screw up, and how it's important to notice things and to focus on keeping things, because it would be tragic to lose things. Much like we have already lost a variety of creatures, unique creatures on planet Earth due to them becoming endangered species first and then becoming extinct creatures. For that to happen during mankind's reign and rule and domination of planet Earth is a very, very irresponsible thing. For anything like that to happen under our watch, okay? Very tisk tisk, naughty naughty. How could you let that happen, humans? Who was paying attention? Was anybody paying attention at that time? You know, maybe one guy, maybe one girl, I don't know. Usually there's at least one sane person on the entire fucking planet. Anyhow. So, obviously these humans are kind of screwed up, and there's a whole world of area to explore in that book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? But I'm going to wrap up by saying a lot of the examples pertain to animals, which is kind of why I was thinking about the endangered species and how the extinct, yeah. You see, because these poor people, this post-war life of theirs is so crappy that animals can't even make it. They can't even survive. So they have to build mechanical animals to have pets, to have, it's a pretty simple thing to have domesticated animals, creatures, beasts. It's a simple thing to have something like that in your life, right? Domesticated animals is one of the domestication of animals, from what I understand at any rate, is one of the earliest signs of civilization, civilized humans, growing food and farming and domesticating animals. That's the kind of stuff humans started doing when they went from caveman to modern man. It's a real basic requirement. It's basically a prerequisite, okay? So if you don't have animals to domesticate, what can you do? You can make mechanical ones, and depending on how well they would keep their animals running, or how clean they would keep, how satisfied. It's kind of like having what are they called? Tamagotchis, I think. Those little digital pets, that you get attached to your keychain. It's a device, requires a watch battery, and sometimes your Tamagotchi cries, sometimes it's hungry, sometimes it needs sleep. And you're either a good owner or a lousy owner, right? Depending on how much time you spend and how much attention you pay to your, it's just like that in the book. And that's about it. I'm not going to spoil it anymore for you, but it's kind of like the best empathy story that I've ever read. They use the word empathy all the time, like the mood organ and the empathy test and blah blah blah. And they got these animals, and damn man, they're mechanical. And a lot of the empathy in the book has to do with the fake animals, and it is not pertaining to human beings, which isn't really helpful. Now, is it? Because to have empathy for human beings, it would be nice to have some good fiction, or maybe non-fiction. I don't know, man. It would be just nice to have the topic explored a little bit more. Not only that, but it's a relatively small book. It's only 100 and something pages. I think 150, maybe 175. It's amazing to me that Philip K. Dick could tell such a fantastic story in so few pages. But he's just one of those guys. Anyways, it's kind of why they have an award named after him for really good up and coming sci-fi authors. Anyways, that's the thing though, is you kind of have to talk to humans to gauge their feelings. And that is at the core of the whole empathy thing. It's like you can't feel for someone until you've talked to them. I think that the saying or the witticism, walk a mile in my shoes, is kind of stupid. It's kind of retarded. It's kind of ass backwards. And that's no offense to retards, the mentally retarded. I grew up, some of my best friends have been retards. But I just want you people to realize just how infantile that thinking is. Walking a mile in your shoes. You know what that's going to do for me? It's going to create my experience in your shoes, which, although may be similar to your experience, it's not going to be your experience. The only way I can walk a mile in your shoes is if you like write a autobiography and I read it, right? Only then will I have walked that mile. Because until then, I don't really understand what you've been through. So, that's the way that works. You know, a lot of people that have been homeless, they say things like, you know, oh, you don't know what it's like until you've been homeless. You know, like, why don't you try it, see if you like it. And it's like, motherfucker, I'm not going to try it. And no, my experience, even if I did, yeah, it's not going to be the same as yours. Get real. Like, I can imagine, I know what goes. I've been hanging out with the homeless my entire life, okay? I have a lot of sympathy, empathy, and compassion for the homeless. And no, we're not going to move on to that topic just yet. I want to talk a little more about empathy because this is some advanced material. I probably should save this as like a lecture 10 topic, but the thing is, we don't have the time, alright? We're trying to save the world here, at least I am. We need some world peace right away. Otherwise, shit's gonna end up like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Do you really want a mood organ? I don't. Anyways, as I was saying earlier, my father, although he may sound like a lunatic, like a fringe weirdo, like he was basically the guy that taught me about compassion, like everything I know about it. Like my mother, she was a kind of adopted, you know, so like her adopted family, although they took care of her and kept her alive, weren't necessarily the most compassionate people with regards to her. So she didn't really get to learn all the things that my old man learned from his grandmother, apparently. And so what did he learn? What did he learn? A lot of the stuff I'm telling you. Like, and I'm not telling you anything, I'm basically indicating things, because who can really tell anyone anything? You know what I mean? Hey, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. I do what I want. Alright? It's true. You really can't tell anyone anything. They have to either accept what you are saying, or else they will reject it, and in which case, you haven't really told them anything, have you? Right? And why would they accept your disinformation until you have gone out of your way to prove that it is in fact information and not disinformation? You know? This instructor says all kinds of crazy things. Like, I say I want world peace, right? I say that I really, really want world peace. I say this over and over, and I've been saying it my whole life. So it's basically safe to believe 100% that I want world peace, okay? I'm not fronting. But sometimes I get really emo. I get really emotional and sad because I feel completely helpless sometimes. And I'll say crazy things in a message on Twitter like, you know, I hope my sick pet that I have so much empathy for, I hope he gets well. I swear, I could just I could kill you for just a few more years with my pet. Now, do you really think I want to kill you? I mean, is that what you get out of that? I'm just wondering. Because if that is what you get out of it, you're not really listening. When to say something like that is basically me saying, I value my pet more than I value you, because my pet has been there for 17 and a half years, and I've invested in him. I've invested my time and my love and my money, and like, even my space. He takes up an area of my room that I'm willing to sacrifice because he's worth it. And to say that, you know, I would do this for this is obviously some kind of twisted hypothetical scenario. And, you know, I kind of regret saying it, but I only regret it because you don't have enough empathy and not enough time to get any empathy for your instructor. So we shall continue to live without world peace until you grow up and get some empathy. It's that simple. But yeah, that's a good example. You really have to talk to a person. You might think I'm ready to snap and go on a murder-killing spree, but I'm just talking about my poor gecko and how he's more important to me than you are. And I don't think that's fucked up at all. I think that that's the way it should be, because he's been there for me, not you. And right now, I don't know how I'm ever going to make it up to my mother, because I've had to rely on her to take care of him, because I can't look at his face. But he's almost... Oh, I don't want to jinx the situation. I don't really believe in jinxing, because I, you know, don't believe in anything. But I swear to God, I got some bad luck going on. And all these little insights are just clues for empathy, because we can't read each other's minds. And even if I walk in your shoes, I still won't know how they feel on your feet. I think that classic 1990s rock and roll band known as the Butthole Surfers have a song lyric in a song called Pepper that says something along the lines of, you never know how to look through someone else's eyes. You know? What do you think they were... I don't know if that's even the right lyric. Maybe I'm misquoting it. I think I got it right, though. What could they possibly mean by that? You never quite know how to look through someone else's eyes? Well, gee, how would you do such a thing? I don't know, man. You know, there were already movies that had been made. Movies like Brainstorm with Christopher Walken. And that was back in the 80s. Then, in the 90s, when that Butthole Surfers song was made, there was another movie along the same topic called Strange Days. What in the hell am I talking about? Well, if you've played anything like Cyberpunk 2077 or know anything about it at all, you know that there's a thing called BDs. And I'm not talking about Blu-ray drives. No, I'm talking about, I think it's called like the Better Than, or in Shadowrun, I think it's called BTLs, Better Than Life. It's basically like a VCR or a DVD player or a Blu-ray. It's basically like a video playback device, much like the video you're playing back now, but instead of playing back a video, you're playing back another person's experiences. Yeah, this is not a new concept. And so maybe that's what the Butthole Surfer... You know, you'd have to ask Gibby Haynes. I think he wrote the lyrics for that. Very unique individual. Possibly more unique than yours truly. Although, who's really judging? judging the weird, unique person contest, right? But yeah, that's why I say this is advanced material, is because you really can't have empathy. You can only have little chunks and pieces that bring you closer and closer to 100% empathy. But until you can see through their eyes, feel through their skin, hear through their ears, taste through their tongue, and smell through their nose, and think with their brain, or at least sit in the back seat while you experience the thinking process, yeah, you really don't have 100% empathy, do you? And you never will. So all you can do is strive for it, and maybe you'll get halfway there. Maybe if you're as advanced as your instructor here, maybe you could get like 50% empathy for another person. I wouldn't advise it. It's the kind of thing that makes you cry. And I don't know about you, but my nose gets full of snot and my eyes get crusty with dried salt crystals. So it's a horrible, horrible thing to cry, and I try to avoid it at all costs. There's some more insight, so you can have some empathy for me. A guy that tries his hardest to avoid crying, not because he had a toxic masculinity type of father. No, my father let me know it was okay to cry if I was sad. He said that if I ever, he said that if I couldn't cry, that it was important. He was a blues musician. You know what blues is? It's a musical genre about how much life sucks and how it's beat you down. Like, of course my father was okay with other people crying, and that includes me. Alright? But, I'm not going to go out of my way to cry. That's for sure. I'm not going to sit around listening to sad music so I can see if I can still cry. Fucking A, man. I don't know why people listen to sad music. Breakup songs, all that junk. What gives? Well, who needs that? But I guess some people do. That's that's an area of my empathy that is lacking. I really don't know. I mean, maybe I've broken up and listened to a breakup song afterwards, just to like let it wash over me and let me accept the entirety of the breakup, because sometimes you're left in a limbo state where you're like, what do I do now? And if you don't figure that out real quick, you're gonna end up, I don't know, getting drunk and calling your ex and going, oh, take me back, baby, take me back, I fucked up. And it's like, you're the one that dumped me. Wait, I did? Oh, well, take me back anyways, I fucked up, I didn't mean to dump you. No, get off the phone, asshole. You drunk dumbass. Like, you really gotta get a grip. So if that's a difficult thing for you, I guess that's why you need breakup songs. I don't know, man. It seems like a weird phenomenon, but I digress. That's just an opinion. I'm not judging or criticizing the people that need breakup songs. I personally could live without them the rest of my life, though. They're kind of a buzzkill. All right. As you can see, yeah, I erased that. I hope you're watching if you didn't want the spoiler. Is there anything more to say about empathy? Well, yes. I was going to talk more about my old man, but I kind of felt the need to talk about the Butthole Surfers more. Now, back to my old man. As I explained to you earlier, he was an intelligent man that taught me how to know the difference between kidnappers, child molesters, homosexuals, and just, boring ass, normal members of society. The conformists? Yeah. So, blues musician. Okay, so what? Well, yeah. He also taught me about compassion. One of the earliest examples was the way he would talk to the homeless when we went out. You know, whether it was to go to the pharmacy for prescription pickups, or maybe not the pharmacy, perhaps just the actual store area of the drugstore, maybe to get shampoo, you know, a bar of soap. And a lot of times my mother would do the shopping and he would kind of hang back and kill time. Sometimes I'd go with her, sometimes I'd stay with him. It's kind of based on my mood, not their mood, my mood. You want to go with her? You want to hang out with me? And, you know, that kind of thing. So when I'd hang out with him, I'll bet you can imagine, because I've been talking about the homeless and crap, I'll bet you can imagine that he'd find himself a bum and chat their ear off, right? Like, and I got to listen to the conversations. You want to know something? He knew these people. He already had relationships with most of the homeless people in my town where I grew up. He already knew them. It wasn't like he was talking to a rando. He was talking to a friend. And to see that when I was this tall really had a mind-blowingly important, you know, effect. It left a deep impression on me about the importance of relationships and people, and not assuming things. We can always presume. To presume is natural, but to assume, very bad idea. It's almost reckless. Okay? You getting the picture? Pretty compassionate guy. He had problems that did not take away from his compassion. One of the most compassionate people, and he taught me what I know about compassion. And I'm not even as good as he was. He practically lived for other people. My mother oftentimes refers to him and calls him a saint, if you can believe that. Okay? And yes, she does have a statue of a pope up on the mantle. I forget which one it is, because I'm not a huge pope follower. I can't keep track of them all. I think back in the 15th century, the pope was, I don't know, it's been a while since I've played Assassin's Creed 2. Where was I? Yeah, man. I think that's a good point to diverge from the subject of empathy, and I think some good homework would be for you to go get to know a homeless person. Just like the next time a bum asks you, and I say bum with the utmost respect, okay? I'm not trying to denigrate or put down in the least. You know, I'm just keeping it real, alright? If you don't have any money, you're a bum. You don't have to be homeless. Basically, if you need to borrow some money because you don't have any, you're basically a bum at that point. So, I think we've all basically been bums from time to time. You know, in childhood, most of us are bums because our allowance is jack shit, right? Like, my old man, my compassionate father, he used to give me $1 every time I read a book. Michael Crichton became a favorite of mine. I think I was talking about, like, wasn't I recently talking in a video about, like, Jurassic Park, Sphere, Rising Sun, Eaters of the Dead, freaking Andromeda Man, like, etc. Yeah, I read all those. I also became a quick fan of Dean Koontz because Stephen King was just a little too much. Like, not only were his books like 1,000 freaking pages, but just like his descriptions were just a little bit much for my little undeveloped brain to handle. So, or maybe not my brain per se, but my experience level. I needed more experience level under the belt to really appreciate the in-depth descriptions that a writer like Stephen King, pens. But yeah, if you could do that, that would be really great. It'll just give you more insight into the lectures to go and try to leave them with a smile. Like the next time a bum goes, hey, you got any spare money? Try to spare what you can. I don't know what you can spare. I think I was telling you, I don't know if it was in the lecture or another video, but I was telling you how I've probably given away 20 bucks like half a dozen times in my life. And I usually regret it because I always need the money. I've never been a rich person, but it's always felt so good to see the smile on their face and the shock and surprise. Like, no way! You're really gonna help me? No backsies? Like, really? I can have this? Like, yes, it's your birthday. Okay? It's Christmas. Enjoy it. Spend it wisely. It'll go quick. Believe me, it'll go quickly. So, spend it wisely. Yes. Try to be, you don't have to do a 20, but, a 5 would be, God, that's practically as good as a 20 to any bum, $1 is basically what they expect, and that's what they hope for. They hope for $1. I guess they probably expect coins, like whatever change is in your pocket, but to do anything more than that, like $5 is practically mind-blowing. Anything above that is saint. You're a saint to that person at that point. So it's safe to say they'll have a conversation with you and you can get to know them. Some of the good questions, I will give you some good questions, some conversation material. Some of the good questions are, what's your name? Where do you come from? Is this your hometown, or did you come here? See, my hometown is warm because I live in the desert, and the Sonoran Desert, and a lot of the underprivileged, underclass, the underbelly of America, no, these are really good people, okay? They're not under anything other than underemployed. But a lot of times they come here because the weather is non-lethal. There's a lot of parts of the United States of America where it gets so cold, it's basically deadly to the homeless. So that's why we've always had kind of an abundance. I wouldn't say an overpopulation. No, that's not accurate. I'd say Phoenix has an overpopulation of the homeless. It gets kind of weird in Phoenix. A lot of schizophrenia, drug addiction, destitution. One of the times I gave a person $20 was on my way out of Phoenix. I was traveling back to Tucson from going to Comic-Con by myself. I was at the gas station on the edge of town, getting ready to hit I-10, and this man started to approach me from I noticed him when he was 20 feet away. I was pumping gas, right? And I could already tell he was coming this way. He was probably like a African American, a black gentleman in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, kind of balding, kind of starting to get the salt and pepper hair, dressed, kind of a little overdressed. A lot of times the homeless are overdressed because it's a real pain in the ass to carry a coat, like you're some kind of a yuppie or something. It's like they just wear the coat because like I was saying, cold weather is lethal to the homeless. So yeah, sometimes they're overdressed. Makes them easy to spot. So I could see him coming, and I was getting ready, to finish and do what I got to do, but I'm still focused. And he says, "Hey there, would you by any chance have any spare change or anything to help me out? I'm a little down on my luck." And I says to him, "If you give me a minute, I'm just gonna fill up my tank here. I gotta go back to Tucson, and I'm almost done here, and I'll help you out." And he says, "Really? You really will? That would be awfully kind of you." And I say, yeah. And you could tell that he was getting a little bit impatient, because I was, it still took me about another minute, but he's kind of just like trying to be polite. He's just like, "So you're from Tucson? Oh, that's cool. What were you doing here in Phoenix?" "Going to a convention, a comic book convention." Oh, that's pretty neat, man. Yeah, I was in that area of downtown Phoenix where the convention was happening. I saw all the costume wearers, the cosplayers. Yeah, they really eat that shit up. Oh yeah, right? It's a good time for everybody, huh? Pretty much. You ever read comic books? Oh, when I was a kid, maybe a little Superman or Batman, a little Spider-Man, stuff like that. That's pretty cool, man. Those are some of my favorites. That's all right. Okay, I'm done. Here. All right. I got to open up the back of the car here. Tell you what, man. Oh, what's that? Here's the arrangement, okay? I'm gonna give you $20 if you give me the time to tell you about the action figure I acquired at Comic-Con. Is that a fair deal? Is that a fair $20 if I can tell you all about Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen? And he's like, "Doctor who?" "Well, yeah, that's fine, man. Yeah, I'll listen." I'm like, "All right." So this blue fellow here, it's a special collectible version. This is an alternate costume. This is he's in a suit because he was on a talk show trying to become more familiar to the public. You see, he's a pretty superhero. He can do all kinds of crazy quantum physics type shit, like mind-blowing the powers that Dr. Manhattan has. Really? Well, like what? Well, for example, he can grow really big, he can shrink really small, he can create multiple versions of himself that can be doing multiple things. Like, he can be focused, and there can be like a dozen of them. One's vacuuming, one's making dinner, one's banging his girlfriend. Like, it's amazing. Really? God damn, this guy can do anything. It's true. He can even travel to Mars in the blink of an eye. He can basically teleport anywhere. He's like a master of physics. He's whoa. Yeah, and he can go back and forth in time to any point. God, what the fuck, man? This is like, why isn't everybody like? Why is Superman so popular? Everybody should be into Dr. Manhattan. I know, right? And like, freaking, he has all the knowledge of the universe already. He knows everything because he's basically Mr. Physics. He's tuned into the universe. He's like a god. Fucking A, man. Well, that's a pretty cool score. You like that figure, eh? You like that? Oh, well, the thing is, when he was on TV wearing this suit, that's when people started to attack him with some pretty hurtful remarks. They were accusing him of causing cancer, that being in his presence was a carcinogenic thing. And this was very upsetting to Dr. Manhattan, and that's when he secluded himself away on Mars and started to build a glass castle. And this guy was practically ready to cry. He's just like, "Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible." I'm just like, so even if you're a god, you can still be hurt. But you know what, man? I really appreciate you listening to me. I feel like a nerd and an outcast. I usually have a hard time getting people to listen to me, so this is a donation, and I just appreciate you listening to me, alright? You can think of it as a square deal if you want to, but it's still just a donation. I wouldn't have taken it back after promising it and getting your hopes up. That'd be a total dick move. Alright, you could have said no and I still would have given it to you. But I appreciate that, you know, you said yes. So, alright, man. Look, have a safe drive back home, alright? And keep reading those comic books, eh, buddy? Yeah, alright. Take care. I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure I got his name, but like, I can't remember. I think it might have been an E, like Edward or an Edgar, or maybe like I can't really say for sure. It's been over 10 years, but that's a good way to get empathy, don't you think? All right, this is the first half. Next, we're going to talk about compassion. I got to take a break. So, thank you.